folks, thanks so much for tuning in today to our webinar where we're going to try to dissect the options in the post-Google Maps engine world, in the post-Esri Google friendship world that we're now living in. And so my name is Dale Lutz.
And I'm Aaron Koning.
And I'm one of the co-founders of Safe Software. We've been around for more than 20 years in the business of moving data.
Yeah, and I'm the product manager for FME Server, and we'll show a little bit of FME Server today as the back end for some of the demos.
So really today we're going to be looking more closely at the options in this new world, but kind of who are we to be doing this? Yeah. And so we are Safe Software. As I mentioned, we've been around for a long time in the business of sitting in between lots of different systems and formats, making that data move. We create a product called FME. You'll hear us mention FME during this webcast a few times. FME manifests itself in a few different ways. There's a desktop version that we use to author the way data is going to move, and there's a server version which can be run sort of hands-free. This technology very much complements the Esri stack, and Esri has been a partner of ours really, or we've been a partner of theirs since 95, 96, going back to the early days of supporting the SDE. For many years, I think since 2005, we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary, Esri's been selling basically a full-featured version of FME as the data interoperability extension, or data interop as it's known to its friends. And all the data movements that we're going to show today can be done equally as well with the data interop or FME. Really, it just comes down to who's more convenient to buy from. We're happy if you use any of these things. Now, the next slide just shows a tiny bit about the magnitude and breadth of what FME is all about. We started off in the beginning of our history doing CAD and GIS back and forth, and even today that's the main kind of thing. But along the journey, we've picked up all kinds of other formats and systems, and really the key of FME is that it lets us integrate these different data types and produce interesting outputs and put them wherever is best for you. And so that's why this is so relevant to our topic today, because we end up putting data in all these different systems. And so in the world where there's no longer a Google Maps engine, that's one format that'll disappear from our universe, but in its place will spring up 4 or 5 others. And so that's what we're going to take a look at. And these kinds of different systems, like there are different data types like 3D and LiDAR and GML, XML, all these things end up being able to be combined to create interesting outputs. I see we've got Internet of Things actually listed there. I think one of the things you're going to show is sensors on snowplows.
Oh yes.
Not that we use them here, but
no, of course it's so beautiful.
That gives an example. So that's just who in the world that we are. And now let's kind of move on and take a look at the situation. So actually, Stephanie, will you launch that poll? So we just want to get a sense of the folks out there. When you first heard about this, who of those fine folks that we've got there, were you sad, happy? How is this announcement affecting you? So not too many people were plotting with happy fingers like our friend Newman.
I thought the grumpy cat would win just based on it being a cat, but Nicolas Cage, you know, people are...
You don't say. I mean, that's not true. Truly, for lots of folks, they weren't using Google Maps engine. They were just surprised by the whole thing. Now, there's a little bit of an opportunity, though. I'm surprised more people didn't pick Newman, because with any change, and I'm former McDonald Detweiler staff member, several people at SAFE are, and that was founded by a wonderful man named John McDonald, and he'd always give a speech where he'd say, the flip side of every problem is an opportunity. And,
yeah, silver lining.
And that's really what Newman is referring to, and it's an opportunity to think about where your data is. It's an opportunity to look at the different options that there are. Even if you weren't using Google Maps Engine, it's an opportunity to learn what it was and what other things you might be able to do that are like it in the future.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to jump. So Google Maps Engine was this kind of cloud mapping platform, if you will. Right?
Yes.
It offered you things that well, we're going to see a few examples of them, but a lot of easy.
Right. They said their catchphrase was mapping at scale, and
yes.
So they would allow you to put up data like where some sort of disaster scenario here. Now we can get that out to everybody, so they don't have to use a Tumblr account. I know Brian Timoney, I don't know if he's listening in, talked about how the city of New York during some flooding put up a PDF map on a Tumblr account, and that was their mapping system. So
okay.
Google was able to do that. They also had a public data kind of angle to it, where you could publish things in Google Maps Gallery. Our friends at the City of Edmonton, City of San Jose, have done stuff like that. So they now won't be able to do that. So let's take a look at what some of the opportunities are.
Yeah, and we're going to frame that in three ways, aren't we?
Yes. So there's really three different ways of looking at the shift in the landscape, and we're going to go through these in some more details. So Google Maps Engine's gone. Well, one option is kind of like going to IKEA. You can go and buy a box full of pieces and then
do it yourself.
Assemble
really.
Things yourself. So this would be useful if you're somewhat savvy, if you can spell JavaScript, if you know what things like jQuery mean and so on. You need a little bit of savviness, but if you are in that situation, wow, are there ever useful and powerful frameworks you can build upon?
Yeah.
The next thing we'll look at is services that are more like what GME or Google Maps Engine was, where you basically pay by the month, software as a service. You don't really own anything, but you use other people's infrastructure, and off you go. And then lastly, we'll look at some of the fallout from this. There's folks that had Google Earth Enterprise, which they might be saying, you know what, maybe I need to look at something else, and they want to basically buy and install in their home. So this is like getting a built-in wall unit that you're going to bring home and screw it in, and you paid once and you're done. So that's the last part that we're going to look at. So Aaron, you got a few things on the build it yourself side you want to show us?
We're going to start out basically three things. Start out with cloud mapping APIs, and I'm going to start by opening up a.
Actually, that's hot linked, Aaron. Let's just.
Is it? If I click right
Stephanie,
here?
if you want to send out that link to people, there was just yesterday or 2 days ago. There was a survey on programmable web that went through and looked at more than we're going to actually cover today. So if some of you are interested, go take a look at that. The two key ones, ArcGIS Online and Google Maps, are discussed on there. And I wouldn't have thought Foursquare. That was a surprise to me.
That's a bit of a surprise.
But anyway, so that's a link that folks would have. So sorry, Aaron, you were going to go look at something. What were you going to do?
So basically, I mean, one of the first things that you'll need if you're going to do it yourself is you're going to need a mapping framework of some sort, right? And that's what we're talking about there, with some sort of Slippy base map to be able to put up some simple vector data to overlay, basically.
So you're going to use someone else's base map and slide some stuff on top.
That's right. Let's we'll go straight to the demo at this point. So we're going to look at three. We're going to look at ArcGIS, we're going to look at Google Maps, and we're going to look at Mapbox.
Right. So there's a way to use if you have an ArcGIS Online account, you can certainly stand up a web page with a wee bit of JavaScript. Is that what this is actually the web page in this example here?
Yeah. So if you go to playground.fmeserver.com, we've got lots of these different examples.
Right.
And here you can see the code and everything. And so yeah, you have to be a bit more savvy than using Google Maps Engine. But here's an example of loading data. It's a KML file, fairly simple KML file. We're loading up and we're placing over top of this this Slippy map. Yeah, and so now we'll show ArcGIS map. We're going to push that button and you'll see basically KML vector data overlaid on top of this map.
So what is the mapping framework or the API you're using to do this?
In this case, it's ArcGIS Online.
Right.
And I feel like it's going to come.
So what are you going to show? What is it? Austin, Texas?
There
we go.
Okay.
So these are transit locations?
Transit locations, bus stops, things like that. And it's a KML file coming from FME server. And
right, so it's being streamed live. So it would be some sort of a live feed, and then you can put that on top. And you can see here just above is the JavaScript / HTML that's used to create such a thing. So really this is piecing together a Slippy map kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely less rich than.
Look at that, we are oversubscribed today. So
over 1,000 people. Wow.
So that means that if some of you that are in right now could probably scalp your seats.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lineup outside. We've never had this happen before, but
well, it's a good problem to have.
Yes, exactly.
And the third one I want to show is something called Mapbox, and I'll hide the code on that. And this is a fairly recent framework. And again, you can do the same thing. This time it's GeoJSON data. And again, you're pulling GeoJSON data from some source. In this case, it is a FME server, and you're overlaying it on top of a Mapbox Slippy map here.
Right. Okay. So streaming geo. So basically, these types of solutions involve somehow setting up a base map and then using some technique to stream data on top, whether it's KML, GeoJSON, so on. And that would be a common pattern. We've shown three here: Mapbox, Google Maps API, and ArcGIS
Online, yeah.
ArcGIS Online, all using JavaScript APIs, and you can roll your own. Now the question is, where is that data going to be stored in the back?
Exactly.
We'll explore that in a minute, and we're using our technology to stream it, but of course you could write your own stuff and use other techniques as well.
So as a contrast with Google Maps Engine, the styling is a lot more involved. It's powerful, but it's a lot more involved.
Right.
And also you have to store that data somewhere. Oh, I keep clicking that button, so I'm going to get in trouble. That hot link is
a little too hot.
It's too hot to handle. So I'm going to find a way to advance this. Okay, good.
Yeah, so we looked at all those.
And also Leaflet.
Yes. Now Leaflet is just a very lightweight JavaScript API for basically insulating yourself from a specific vendor's API. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, the way I think about it is pick your base map, no problem. If you want to use Google one day and then the next you want to switch to Mapbox or
Bing or whatever.
Or OpenStreetMap as an example. Yeah. And so it's something to check out. A lot of buzz on that.
In fact, actually, as we've been being contacted by various vendors that are interested in being considered as an alternative, some of them have told me that their frameworks are built on Leaflet to insulate them from a vendor changing their mind later on. So
exactly. So some of the components we're showing here are being used by what we'll see those kind of pre-assembled solutions.
Yes. So that's a quick survey of roll your own. So again, another way actually is to create your own map tiles.
That's right. So you've got a framework, but hey, I got my own ortho photos, I got my own map. Let me slide that in as the layer that I view.
And you can make those tiles using any of the techniques we're showing here. Mapbox guys have a great tool, of course, ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Server. Fantastic tools, especially if your data is in the Esri stack already, to do that. If your data isn't in a convenient, ready-to-use format, then FME can certainly make tiles.
Absolutely, and I'll show an example of some tiles that FME has made. Basically, these are ortho photos they're more recent than what you can get on Google, maybe a higher resolution as an example. As you zoom in, you get the same familiar experience you get with any Google map or any of these slippy maps.
Right, so more detail is coming in, but it's still very performant. And this is, you put this together with Leaflet, eh?
This is Leaflet actually in the back. See, you wouldn't even know it, but it's OpenStreetMap and Leaflet put together.
Yes.
And I've also pulled out recent ortho photos from Boston as well.
Okay.
So if we go over here, I've got Boston here, and if we zoom in, we'll be able to see what Boston looks like right now. Oh, it's pretty much a straight up whiteout in Boston. Kind of a glacier type feature coming in there. So Boston
pretty much white out.
Not looking so good. In fact, the mayor in Boston said that if you can clear out a parking spot, then you get it until the snow melts.
Wow.
And so the adverse effect to that is if you take somebody's spot and they have cleared that out, they will put the snow back.
Okay.
So we're not advocating that. That's just a negative feedback.
We do love our friends in Boston, but we're not really too bitter about that Stanley Cup thing, nor the Super Bowl.
Oh wait, the Super Bowl. I'm not even.
Right. So anyway, so that's a less interesting slippy map for the snow cover in Boston.
Yes, exactly. So there's the second kind of thing, right? You've got your framework. Now you've got your own base map or some sort of map there. But now where are you going to put your data, because if you're going to put up your production data.
So the tile thing is great if the data doesn't change that often. Like those Boston guys, they're going to be like that for several months. So they can leave that data up there, so grind the tiles once. But in many of these mapping situations, you want stuff that's a little bit more live, like the snowplows are moving around and so on. So that data is coming from somewhere, so you can take your pick of all these cloud-based spatial databases where you could tuck stuff in and then write the framework that's going to spray that stuff that's in your cloud database onto your cloud map. Again, many options there. Of course, Google themselves have given a whole tutorial on how you can set the whole stack up in the Google universe. And so we've got a link to that there.
Doesn't look too bad, maybe 6 steps, right?
6 easy steps. And you're just grabbing the PDF.
Yeah.
There's only, how many pages in this PDF?
I think there's a lot, including some App Engine code thing that you have to do. Right. This is the do-it-yourself method.
So yeah, if you get Make Magazine and you like sort of making your own tablet out of different pieces, then this might be good. I mean, very powerful, really good, but again, you got to be ready to roll up the sleeves and go for it. So again, lots of choices for cloud-based spatial databases. Azure has a very good spatial database. Amazon gives you a choice of a whole bunch.
In fact,
Oracle Cloud.
In fact, with Amazon, those tiles, we actually, FME Server, once the tiles have been generated, FME Server pump them up into S3.
Right.
We're serving them directly out of there.
So right, again, you can use Amazon frameworks to piece together things. We just actually had a one-day Amazon class for the whole company pretty much here.
Yeah.
So I even know how to use S3 now.
Oh.
And yeah, I can see how it'd be very convenient, that combined with CloudFront to do that. But again, there's things to set up and do. So
lots
of power, lots of options. As terms of getting the data there, that's where we come in. We got you covered. You can change your mind whatever you want. But again, if you're using any of these do-it-yourselfers, you got a bit of work to do.
And we support the new Google Cloud SQL database as well.
Yep.
So option 2.
So again, if you're not someone who gets Make Magazine, then maybe you might want to look at something a bit more closely resembling what Google Maps Engine had been doing for you. And so there, you really are renting. It's like you're getting that IKEA furniture pre-assembled and it's ready to go, but you don't own it.
Yeah.
But somebody else, if the handle falls off, it's not your job to fix it. So that's the good situation there. And there are actually quite a number of alternatives here. We want to look specifically at 2 today.
Yeah, and we're going to start with ArcGIS Online. No surprise here. There's an agreement basically. Did you want to talk a little bit about the agreement?
We'll get into it more a bit further on, but ArcGIS Online is certainly a slide-in replacement for Google Maps Engine. We posted a blog about 6 alternatives. ArcGIS Online, obviously the top one there, and able to be used. If you're already an Esri customer, it's very simple for you to get your data up there. You don't have to do anything else. However, if you're not an Esri customer, it's actually also very easy. You can get an ArcGIS Online account without being an ArcGIS desktop user and use tools like FME or your own things to get data up in there and take advantage of all the powerful cartographic options that they've got for you.
Okay, so let's jump into a demo. I mean, one of the first things about using one of these cloud mapping frameworks is that you're going to need to get the data up there.
Yes.
And so we're going to run, you can see, we're going to pick on a different state. We're going to pick on Iowa here.
Okay.
We're going to load up some data in here, some snowplow data.
So what is it called?
It's called Snowplows Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. And
are you sure? When it comes in there,
we're going to hit this button here. So this is the FME workbench here we're seeing for those who've never seen it before.
Right. Aaron ran it on the Mac, but
yeah, you can run it wherever you want. Linux, Mac, Windows.
Yeah.
And this one, we refresh, and then we don't see it, and then we wait a second, and then we'll see it, perhaps.
Okay. So some stuff is being uploaded to ArcGIS Online. Oh, yeah. Did something happen over there?
It was still figuring it out, and it's finished now. So let's refresh, and we might just see a new layer in here called Snowplows in Iowa. Okay.
Okay.
So there it is.
It's a feature layer.
That's a feature layer we've loaded up there, and then you can open that and view it, and you can make a very nice looking map.
Really quickly, yeah.
And here's the kind of thing you can do. Here's the state of Iowa, the DOT department's snowplow map, and this is ArcGIS Online.
Well, that's actually that really is their site. Hey, we should invite folks. Can Stephanie chat? She can't chat that out probably, but you can.
I very much probably could, so I'm going to.
So let's chat that out to everybody. You can go check the snowplows in Iowa.
And you can see it's refreshing live. And Dale, tell us a little bit about how this works.
Right. So this is an amazing system. Ultimately, the results are being presented or shown on ArcGIS Online, but there's an amazing network of starting really with iPhones mounted in trucks, finding their way through Oracle and Amazon and a bunch of other places that data kind of works its way through their system, ultimately ending up on top of ArcGIS Online. It's an amazingly powerful system put together by our friends over at Iowa DOT, and in the end, the real-time kind of mapping at scale stuff that Google was attempting or going after with GME very much being done in this case.
Absolutely.
Were you successful in sending that link to everybody?
I did. I sent that out there.
So we're finding out if you're able to get maps at scale using this. But actually, these are live pictures or live-ish pictures from the snowplow maps. We often at SAFE here in Vancouver like to just take a look at those just to remember what life used to be like where we were all from.
Yeah, we're both kind of from the north more. Aren't we?
Yeah. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta. We had I've done my time for sure. Driving in snow. Yes. And I wish there would have been a map like this so I'd have known if it would have been safe to go see the Chinese circus or not as I made my journey from the farm to Edmonton when I was a young boy. We never made it to the Chinese circus. We got snowed in, got stuck.
It's one of those things that stays with you, isn't it?
Yeah, and instead, actually, I got to go to my uncle's place, and we watched Wayne Gretzky score 50 goals in 39 games. So, and it was all because we didn't have this map. So we didn't know that we couldn't make it to the Chinese circus. So anyway.
It's silver linings, right?
Yeah.
It's like McDonald said there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's ArcGIS Online. Just a super quick view. You can style it, have live data feeds, and it's easy. You don't have to do code.
Yeah, and again, if you're an Esri customer, it's certainly very easy within their stack to get live things in there. But if you need data that's not within the Esri universe, we got you covered with FME. There's no problem, and very powerful things like that Iowa example able to be done.
So that's the heavyweight, I'd say, to some extent, or the.
But these CartoDB guys make a very interesting product as well, and some very powerful things, especially with respect to time-based visualizations in there.
Yeah.
They've recently managed to hire a long-time, actually local
local
personality,
done well.
Paul Ramsey, who really the original PostGIS guy. Underneath CartoDB is PostGIS. This exposes SQL very nicely into the map-making universe, and yeah, so let's take a look. You got an example for us there?
We are. We're heading back to sunny Vancouver in this one, and let's bring this up. Okay, and so here's CartoDB, and what it's showing here is food vendors in Vancouver. It's so warm now in Vancouver that the ice cream vendors are starting to come out. That's what we're showing here, and this is last month's data. So we're going to show the latest data right now. And how do we do that? Well, we load it up through a workspace. Here's the workspace, and this is you just hit run here, and it pulls down the data from the City of Vancouver's Open Data Portal and writes it up to CartoDB. And so all I have to do is just turn that layer off and turn it back on, and we should see a lot more ice cream vendors, and there they are. So this might be freezing cold in Boston, but it's nice and sunny here, and people are looking for their ice cream.
Right. Yeah. So definitely CartoDB, one worth looking at. And actually, if you go back to the slide deck, on the next slide here, it turns out they're hosting a webinar in about 2 weeks' time, or a little more than that. A little more than a week. That's going to be just looking at how you can load data in. So we got that coming up. You can sign up. I think actually the link will be in the webinar page. Or if you just search, I think FME and CartoDB, you'd be able to find that.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that leads us into, what about some other options here?
Wow. Really, when it comes to kind of renting your own service, there's no shortage of them. And so when we put up our blog, actually go and click on the center of that, I think.
Okay.
Whoa, maybe it's not hot linked. Nope.
There it is.
There it is.
Okay.
So we put up that blog, and maybe Stephanie, you can just chat that one out. This is the one that we kind of surveyed a number of these options. And then we had a lot of folks write into us afterwards a lot of folks wrote to us in the comments here and mentioned their own different products. So if we go back to our survey of all the things, so you can take a look at that and do that. But there's ones that I thought Mango Map.
It sounds delicious, right?
Sounds delicious. And then there's our friends over at Galdos with Indicio, which that looks like a kind of pizza.
Well, it's not delivery, it's Indicio.
Wow, okay. So, and then we got contacted last night by the Scribble Maps people. UbiSense use Leaflet on top of another set of frameworks and have quite an interesting framework specifically for utilities kind of things.
And I like the name First Mile. It just makes me feel like it's going to be easy. I don't know why.
Right, and usually we talk about the last mile as the hard part. But hey, maybe the first mile gets you going. So anyway, there's just no end of these things that you can take a careful look at as you survey the options. And again, Newman said that there's opportunities here to look at things and learn things and figure out which one is the best for your situation.
So those are sort of the two cloud-based options
that we took a look at. Yeah. The idea of renting it. And so now we're down to the last situation, which is let's look at thicker clients. Until this point, we've been really talking about web alternatives in the post-Google and the Esri friendship world. So again, lots of good options from Esri, but these are the ones we looked at so far were all about services that you would rent. Either you build it from pieces or you let somebody else pre-assemble it. But what if you just want something inside your own environment?
Yeah.
You want it in your own shop, and you don't want the outside world to have access.
Could be sensitive data.
Yep. You might have need for thicker clients than what the web options were able to give you.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of interesting options there. And again, we look at this comes right off of Esri's web page, where they list a number of different Google technologies and what the equivalent things are on the ArcGIS side. So Google Earth Enterprise, some folks may be looking to move away from that. Esri has got basically slide-in replacement types of options. Of course, ArcGIS for server, but also especially now the very powerful local portal that you can have, which is really like having your own copy of ArcGIS Online inside your own universe.
Bolted inside your,
Right, and so that's the key things. You look at Google Earth Enterprise. We'll talk about Google Earth Enterprise a bit more, or Google Earth, I mean, as a client. The most recently released product from Esri, ArcGIS Pro, very much a very capable 3D, powerful professional tool that can slide in.
We're going to look at that as well.
Yep, we're going to try our hand at doing some stuff with that. And of course, in this list of solutions, Google Maps Engine also shown, and we've already touched on those two things. The top half of this chart is really about what you're going to do on premises.
Yes, on premises. Exactly.
Yes, not on premise, on premises.
No, the premises you'll be doing on premises.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so first up, ArcGIS Portal, and like Dale said, it really is just it's equivalent to an ArcGIS Online that you bolt in. So
now again, if you're all in an Esri stack, this is very natural and easy to use. It's really simple to do. But if you want to, you can also bring data using our technology in from anywhere else. So if you have other data that needs to be integrated, or if you had old workflows that brought stuff into Google Earth Enterprise, and you wanted to rehost them, that is not going to be too hard of a problem, because really all these different data types can be brought in. So what do you got here for us?
So what we have here, we're looking at a portal, and it might look to most people just like an ArcGIS Online, and that's because it's very similar.
Except that it's got a weird URL, which means it's running inside of Safe.
Safe.internal.
So even if Stephanie chatted that out to people, which I don't want her to do, they would be out of luck. They could not get at this.
They can't get to it. It's nice and secure behind our firewall.
Yes.
So what we have here, we're at the state of Montana. We don't want to keep picking on those Boston guys, but with lots of snow, and then it's warmed up, lots of warm temperatures. We get lots of rainfall.
Yes.
So here we got a stream gauge map, and we've got it up there. We've got it styled exactly how we want it. Now we just want to update that with the latest stream gauge information to see where things are flooding. And right now you can see about 6 locations that are in flood stage. So now we're going to run FME again, and we're going to update that with the latest map. And so it's not going to drop that layer. It's just going to truncate the layer and then refill it with the latest gauge information.
Right. So this is the so-called dump and reload technique for refreshing things. FME is also able to apply updates to individual features if that's what we wanted.
Exactly. Yeah. And either option is feasible.
Whoop. Zoomed in. Whoa. There's all kinds of dots everywhere. Is that what you were expecting?
Well, what we can do quickly. Not exactly what I was expecting, but now you're going to learn a little bit about changing symbols, and so now this is a bit of a portal tutorial. Yes, and so let's make that color, and we should be able to see a lot more of them in here.
You have to hit apply.
Done changing symbols, perhaps?
Well, there's an apply button up there too, but I don't know if... Okay, there
we go.
Right.
So more than 6.
Yes.
So these are what's in flood stage, and actually there is quite a bit of flooding going on right now in Montana.
Is that really right?
Well, high streams, I should say. Yeah. Because of the melt. So, you might want to consider getting on your horse and heading for the hills.
Not to Boston, though.
But don't go to Boston.
Right.
Vancouver is pretty nice.
We got lots of ice cream here for you.
And exactly. And it's warm, but
so anyway,
check your local.
Again, that's an example. We're staying inside of the web-based clients here, but we're running ArcGIS Online effectively locally and updating things. In this case, from a non-Esri data source into there.
Absolutely. So that's that's the first of a few options we'll look at.
Yeah.
And so part of this new architecture is with Esri and with Google is this new Google Earth client. And so talk a little bit about that, if you would, Dale.
Yes. So in the Esri architecture diagram, they actually list Google Earth as a valid client in this universe in the post kind of Google leaving the this sort of industry segment. And so it's right up there along with mobile devices, the web clients, which we just saw, ArcGIS desktop products, ArcGIS Pro, which we'll look at, and Google Earth is listed as a full-on client. And now Google Earth, in some respects, I think it's coming up to 10 years old here.
Wow.
And I know Brian Timoney, again, I'm going to drop his name, but he was commenting the other day about how Google Earth, in many respects, has been the most successful GIS client software. And somehow they nailed that usability long ago, and largely it is as it always was. But what a lot of folks don't realize is how powerful the KML data transfer language has been for doing amazing things inside Google Earth. And we've worked with clients over the years that have done just astonishing things, whether it's visualizing 3D airspaces to looking at utility corridors to even doing BIM kinds of things. You can do all kinds of powerful, amazing things, live updates of things, all of that. And so that Google Earth being in this ecosystem is certainly not something one should take for granted. And if you take a look at the options with respect to Google Earth, whoops,
we got a hot link.
That's that Esri architecture page in case you don't believe us. But I really should spend a moment or two talking about the flavors of Google Earth,
right?
Because there's a lot of lack of clarity around this. And so Google Earth just by itself is the thing that our grandmothers have all downloaded and used to find their homes and so on. I love that old Homer Simpson. Actually, it appeared in The Simpsons many years ago, and it actually pretended to show that Homer was running around the backyard naked right inside Google Earth. The funny thing is, with Skybox being bought by Google, that probably is a little more likely to come true than it was. But that's just plain Google Earth that we've all had. And there always was a licensing restriction around Google Earth about how much you could use it or not inside of a business. And I know there was a chill that many people felt for many, many years. They didn't want to do it. To answer that, Google had offered this thing called Google Earth Pro, which you could pay $400 for, and that would erase the licensing problem, so you could start to use it for business purposes. It also gave you a bit more functionality, so you could do a handful of things. I know, like we're going to show the super overlay business. That was in there. It had a couple of importers for other data types, and so that was what Google Earth Pro is. Well, guess what? Nicolas Cage would say what? Google Earth Pro is now free. So you do have to kind of download it, but it's free to use, which does mean that Google Earth Pro is certainly a legitimate contender in that architecture diagram because there's no licensing problem at all to be using it. Lastly, let's talk about Google Earth Enterprise Client, which often is shown with this little padlock beside it, because it is locked down to using data within your own organization. Right. So this would be paired with Google Earth Enterprise. And this would be the thing that if you would end up moving away from Google Earth Enterprise, you'd also be moving away from Google Earth Enterprise Client. But the idea of that one was you could stream your own data in to Google Earth within that framework. So that one's going away. Well, I guess I don't know that for sure. It would go away if you got rid of Google Earth Enterprise, but you could still keep Google Earth Pro.
So you got Google Earth Pro. You have, in the past, a really rich way of feeding it. Now, in the future, you may want to use something like ArcGIS, a Portal, or something like that to feed it.
Because ArcGIS Server definitely, for a long time, has had the ability to publish its maps in KML. So you can make a KML service in ArcGIS and feed Google Earth that way and use it in those sorts of ways. We're going to also show you some of the various ways to get your own data in Google Earth. And so, Aaron, you got about like three or so options?
Three examples of how you can basically do some more sophisticated KML into Google Earth. So the first one is a super overlay. And what is a super overlay? Dale, you cue that up while I open it.
So really the idea here is, instead of putting gigabytes of imagery and trying to send that all down to you, even if you're zoomed into a tiny area or zoomed out, you basically pre-chop the data and also resample it, so you have various levels of detail sitting there, and you can put all this into a KML file, and then as you zoom in, which Aaron is doing, the various increasing amounts of detail just come in.
It's too bad they didn't just call it map tiles instead of super overlay.
Yeah,
because effectively it's
right. It is. You're right. It actually is map tiles before map tiles were sort of cool.
Exactly.
And so you can create these things using a tool like FME.
Yeah.
You can do them one-off inside of Google Earth Pro.
That's one of the advantages of Pro, is the ability to do an ad hoc version of this. You pump in a big ortho and it'll chop it up.
And then save it, and then you can give it to your friends.
You can give it to your friends. Yeah.
And you could probably put it up on S3 and have the right URLs and stuff inside your PML and share that even if you're using it inside your own organization. So that's super overlays with vectors. You can actually do these as well with
rasters,
with rasters. You can do these as well with vectors if you feel like it.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'll jump straight to that. And now we're going to get away from Vancouver. We're going to get away from Boston for sure. We're not going there.
Back to our friends in Austin, Texas.
We're going to Austin. You know, we always go back there. Something about it.
Yeah, well, it's because they were the first ones to do public open data. So thank you, friends in Austin, Texas. Back in 2000-ish, they put up all their data on FTP site, and we used it for all of our demos. And we still have a warm spot in our heart for Austin. I'm sad I'm not going there for FME World Tour.
Yeah, there's something weird about it, right?
Yeah, I love it.
So if we zoom in, effectively, once we zoom into a certain point, we'll see vector data load up here. And so it allows you to load up
there it is.
A lot of vector data, or at least load in a map that's going to be a huge amount of vector data, but only show what you're
Because say what you want about Google Earth, it does not like having hundreds of thousands of features displayed at once. So the idea here is wait until you're zoomed in enough to bring in the additional levels of detail, and then bang, in it comes.
Yeah.
And it's easy enough to express all this in KML.
Yeah.
And so this data was ground using FME somehow, is that right?
Absolutely. It was cut up, tiled, regions were put on it, levels of detail.
Yeah.
So only when you zoom in. In this case, it's a portable version because all the files are on disk.
Yes.
But we've in the past hooked this up to an FME server, so you get the live data streamed like this as well.
Only when you're zoomed in tight enough to make sense.
Exactly. Only when you're zoomed in.
Actually, if folks are interested in this, I think there's a FMEpedia article that shows how to do this.
Yes.
Do you recall where that?
Yeah. If we zoom forward, maybe it's even linked.
Yeah.
Actually, this one's available from the store.
Right.
Do we have a link?
We might not have a link.
Well, we can go there. Let's go there. Let's off-road.
Store.safe.com. If you want to know how to make overlays, let's see.
Large. I think it was under the large. View a large data set.
Optimizing large data sets for KML.
That's the one. That's it.
It's a top thing. Just go there and search for large.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's where you have the link to kind of how it works off of the FME store.
And there's a whole article describing the process, how to set it up. There you can see the same example.
Yeah.
So you can learn how to do that, and not too hard.
Not too hard, and it's again a very powerful technology that's available. Whether you're using an Esri backend or not, you can do this type of thing. And whether you're using servers locally or not. See, if you don't have servers of any kind locally, you can grind this stuff ahead of time,
cache
and then have it in a network share or something.
Yeah, it just allows Google Earth to work rather than crash.
Right. So that's that. Oh, now here's an interesting other option that's possible. It's kind of more advanced KML inside the Google client, and this is where you basically load up an initial data set, and then updates get fired to it. So now what do you got going here, Aaron?
I'm going to refresh this, revert, and so we're down in Austin here, and we're down in Austin, and guess what? A tornado hits. I love weather, so I got to go with weather. Tornado hits, and now we want to know a live update of what street stop signals are working or not working.
Right.
And what we have here is an initial load of the status, and then it should refresh here, and you should see status has changed. And there you go. You saw some change there. The big difference between this and a straight up network link is it's not refreshing all the data.
Yes.
So if I come in here and I click one of these things, if I refresh all the data every second, which is what it's basically looking every second. If I do that every second, this little pop-up goes away. The whole thing refreshes. It freezes a little bit. So effectively, what is happening is Google's going out to FME server in this case and saying, hey, are there any new changes, any new inserts, updates, or deletes? If there are, then it applies them to the map.
Yes. So in fact, you want to just show us that refresh status. There's a thing here on the network link that sets the time. If you go to the Get Info, I think.
Yeah.
It's basically every second it's pinging.
Yeah.
And so when you author these things, you say how often do you want it to dial home, and find out and basically keep your thing refreshed. So that's another way of using Google Earth as a client.
Yeah, and so if you're, I'll go a little bit off road. If you were to do this in, say, a web mapping framework, you would probably use WebSockets as an equivalent. And we have examples of doing that very thing with tracking ships and planes and stuff like that.
So again, amazing that this technology has basically been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
And still able to be used. So that's
3 different examples, and we're looking at Google Earth Enterprise or Pro, as it were, and really you're going to add sort of a different dimension on this, aren't you?
Okay, right. So I think with that, I think my friend Stephanie's going to make me a presenter here. So
and so within this new architecture, Dale's going to present here. Within this new architecture, we have not only Google Earth as an option, but also ArcGIS Pro as a 3D viewer option. And we're going to look at both of these coming up in just a moment.
Right. So we've looked at a kind of a survey of mostly not 3D data so far.
Yeah.
But when it comes to on-premises thick clients, one of the things that Google Earth was known for was its nice 3D capabilities. So if you think about 3D data, the first thing to do is how we're going to get some. And actually what I'm going to do is a very quick little demo of making some 3D data.
Okay.
So what I've got here, let's take a look. I've got some building outlines, which I'm going to take a quick peek at. And we'll just take a look. One of the things that we have with FME is the ability to look at any kind of data. This is AutoCAD data that it does have a coordinate system with it, I think. And so I'm going to look at some building outlines, there we go, that are in Vancouver area somewhere. And if I click on some of these things, I can go down to the bottom here and I can see that they have an ID with them and some kind of a base height. That's the elevation of where they are
I think I see where you're going with this.
And the other thing that I want to take a quick peek at is if I just go out of there, whoops, let's do that. And let's go looking here. If I look here, I've got a CSV file that someone has made, I think from LiDAR data actually. They use FME to make this using the statistics, LiDAR statistics that we can do. So if we take a quick peek at that, that's a CSV file that again has a building ID and then the mean height of the top of the roof, as we say where I come from.
So you know where it starts and then how tall it is.
Yeah. So what I want to do is merge these things together. So I'm going to just start up FME Workbench. I'm going to make a blank workspace here. I'm going to take this and drag out these building outlines and get them onto my canvas. So I've got some outlines there. And I'm going to also drag out this CSV. And there we go. And I got that as well. And what I want to do, let me just zoom this in a wee bit here, just so we can better see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to next merge these. And so the way I can do that, there's a whole bunch of different transformers. If I start typing the word merge, whoa, merge. Yeah. Feature merger, there we go. That's the thing that's going to basically join the streams, which is not safe to do in Ghostbusters, but is safe to do here. So I want the outlines are going to request information from the CSV, and we can join them on that outline ID column. So I want to say on the requester side, we're going to join by outline ID. On the supplier side, which is the CSV, we've got the outline ID.
There's your join.
And everything is done. And so now I would have, and actually I could go ahead and run this with what I call full inspection. You just hit that icon there. All these numbers pop up. The ones that are merged are here. If I double click them, I can take a look at what my data is going to look like at this point. So here it is, and I've got my my features again. And so now if I look, I should have a mean height, I think. Yes, which was not there before. I've got a mean height as well as a base height. And so this makes me happy because now I can go ahead and put down something called an extruder. I'm going to extrude these building footprints by the difference. Okay, so here's the extruder. And how much do I want to extrude by? By height. What's the height going to be? I'm going to open my math editor, and I'm going to say we're going to do the mean height minus the base height. And so that's going to give me my stuff extruded. And if I just run with full inspection again, that should give me 3D objects now. That if I double click here, they should fire up inside here. And there they are. And if I go and tip them around, we can then see those babies in 3D. Yeah, you can see it there. That's good enough. We won't belabor that point. So lastly, I would go and now start saying, well, let's just go and add a writer to go to, say, KML with this, if I'm going to Google Earth. And where should I put this? Let's put this into out. We'll save that. And I'd say that I would just grab the attributes from the outlines, and there I would go and I'd connect that. And if I wanted to also put it to, say, a 3D shape file, I could do that. I could go to 3D PDF as well, but that's not relevant to what we're doing here. So I can go to shape, call it out.shape, and I'll just do this. And then I will duplicate this guy, and that's going to be a shape file. Go in here and fix up the properties. So we're going to go to shape, and I would say that this is going to be a multi-patch shape, and then I'd be good. And I could go ahead and run this again and get that output. And so now, once I've done that, I'll have myself some 3D. Yeah, KML takes a bit while we write out all the, actually the embedded Collada models that are doing that. And we've got to also horse around a bit with reprojection. That's happening behind the scenes to make this all work. And we're done. Good. So if I go back to here, and I need to get myself a finder up, and I need to look for this one, and I should have my KML file here. And if I just bring that in, we're headed into Vancouver, and sure enough, there's a nice group of buildings.
There they are, yeah.
Yes. And so they'll just fill in, and you could work on styling them, but nonetheless, the concept is there, and I could, you know, tilt these more or less, whatever. That's what Google Earth has always done, and you can bring in these 3D things.
And there haven't been too many great alternatives
for doing that. No, not really. But now here I've loaded up ahead of time, so this is the same thing exactly inside of ArcGIS Pro. So you can easily bring the 3D in, and if we want to tip it over a little bit and see those fine mountains, not snow-covered.
No, just to point that out, they are basically snowless.
So if you wanted to ski this year, you had a bit of trouble. But
one thing I'll mention also is it looks a little bit glitchy on the video here, but it is both the Google Earth and ArcGIS Pro very smooth.
Yeah, it's astonishing how wonderful they are to handle this kind of 3D data.
I mean, they're really the next it's the next generation.
And I know something that folks often did was bring something from. I'll just get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
Bring stuff from the 3D warehouse and put that into Google Earth before. So if you had like the Eiffel Tower or various things that were there on the Google's 3D warehouse, now Trimble's 3D warehouse of SketchUp stuff. Here's an example of us bringing the Lionsgate Bridge and putting it out to a file geodatabase and getting rid of the base map tiles. In most of those 3D warehouse things, SketchUp has put in some base map photos, which kind of look grotty, to use a technical term. So if I get rid of this, if I go into my project menu and say open, I can look at Lionsgate 2. I will not save the changes there. And so this is basically bringing in a SketchUp model and putting it into ArcGIS Pro. So all of this to say, basically, ArcGIS Pro is certainly a very capable, just as Esri has shown in their graph, a capable slide-in replacement. Yes. And is it showing up for you, Aaron?
Yeah, it's coming, and there it is.
So that, just to prove we did something, if I go over here and I turn off the Lionsgate Bridge, wow, it's like whatever that rich family was never built it.
Yeah.
And nobody ever moved to that side of the water. And I turn it back on again. And
there
it's
it
up
is.
for you, yeah. And if we hold down the V key, we can again spin around and and check things out. So,
wow.
You know, and that's just a very simple, let's dump a 3D object in and off we go. So that's a couple of things that we wanted to show there, so folks are aware that the Pro app definitely capable for doing that. And if we go back into here, so we talked about Google Earth already, and ArcGIS Pro we talked about. The one thing I wanted to point out is that ArcGIS Pro is also able to do a stunningly good job of going inside of buildings. So and I think the link is on here, and maybe Stephanie, you can chat out the link to folks. There was it's a 12-minute video. The stuff that involves this is at about minute 9, but this is George Washington's Mount Vernon home, which is near Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And beautiful thing that's been modeled in Revit. They used LiDAR scans, hired some architects, modeled this thing in incredible detail in Revit so that there's a digital version of this forever. Then they're bringing most of it into ArcGIS Pro using FME technology through the data interop, actually, in this case.
Okay.
So that they can turn off the ceiling, look up above, because there's actually a reason for this other than just making a killer demo, and that is they need to upgrade the sprinkler systems in there. And apparently Harry Truman did some work at some point and fixed some plaster in the 40s, and the other plaster is from like the 1700s. So they'd rather monkey with Harry Truman's plaster than the original,
right.
And all of that is in the model, and they can do their planning with that. So it's a fabulous story. Again,
so if you can get super detailed in here, and
yes,
super precise as
well.
Yeah,
and so again, you can watch it better on that video later. So whoops, oh yeah, there was linked.
Link to the video. So you'll get these slides with all the links in them as well.
So just to kind of wrap up, as we think about this survey, we've done kind of a 50,000 foot all the way down to the inside of buildings survey here today of the options in the post Google Maps engine, post Google Esri Friendship universe. Again, if you think back what we saw, it's amazing the tools that are there if you want to build it yourself.
Yes.
You're not like you're starting with 2x4s or even tree trunks.
Yeah.
You basically have almost like getting packages from IKEA and a few little Allen keys needed, but you got to be willing to deal with the Allen keys.
Yeah.
So lots of options. Really, it's never been a better time for do-it-yourselfers, but you may not want to be a do-it-yourselfer. If you don't want to be a do-it-yourselfer, there's also stunning amount of pre-made rented options.
Yeah, platforms that allow you to just get started quickly, right?
And I guess part of the reason why those platforms are able to be there is that those are people that have used the build-it-yourself ingredients.
Correct.
Scaled on top of that. I know that Esri uses, the rumor is both Azure as well as Amazon.
Yeah.
I know the CartoDB guys are scaling on top of that sort of stuff too.
Yeah, Google's.
All those pieces are there, and you can do amazing things with it, and you don't have to really care about the maintenance of it. And,
exactly.
And lastly, if you need to do stuff on premises, you have plenty of power available to you. The ArcGIS stack, Google Earth, plus some other things are certainly capable of most things we could come up with in terms of end use needs. So lots of options for folks, lots of power. Just a couple of wrap-up things, and we'll go to our panel for some questions and answers. World Tour 2015, we're coming to 60 cities worldwide. We'll be talking about stuff like this and all kinds of other things. Again, maybe Stephanie can chat out the link. It'll be in the follow-up as well. We're probably coming to a city near you, and you get a free lunch.
Yes.
And some very interesting swag. Can't say what it is, but really proud of it this year.
Oh, really? I've been trying to get it out of Dale all day.
Yeah, he doesn't know what it is. We got another webinar coming up on reporting and analysis. If you're interested in that sort of thing, safe.com/webinars. You can also grab a free copy of FME. Just go to safe.com/tryit, or just safe.com.
Safe.com will get you there. Yeah.
And you can try some of these things yourselves. And with that, I'm going to actually see if we only have about a minute or so left. Well, no, we got 3 minutes.
3 minutes. That's a few questions.
That's a few questions. So I don't know. Oh, I do know one question I saw fly by, and then I'll hopefully Steve and Robin and some of the others. We never actually invited people to ask questions along the way.
Well, they did actually in the chat, but
okay, good. Because I forgot. That's one thing we often ask people to do.
Yeah.
I did notice somebody asked us, does FME support CartoDB?
Absolutely. CartoDB is a new format we've added support for this release.
Yeah, it's in 2015.0. Yeah.
Yeah, and that we even did a demo on it.
Yeah. So it's fully supported, and also I guess Laura's doing a webinar with the CartoDB folks digging into it in more detail.
Yeah, so look for that.
But
feel free to throw questions out now.
Yeah.
And we'll keep going.
We also have actually have someone from Esri able to field tough questions as well.
Okay.
If anybody wants to hit them. So let's just look at the questions thing ourselves. Somebody asked, okay, what is the relationship between FME and all these options? FME is really there to help move the data. So it runs fairly independently from these things, but so we don't ourselves. I guess in the case of data interop, we're running inside of ArcGIS, but in general we run in complement to all these things. We can be called either live to stream data in, or we can be called kind of offline to crank out tiles and so on that way. So that's kind of that relationship.
One of the ways to think about it is you don't have to care about format because we care about it a lot.
Right. So we'll insulate you from that, and that's one of the values that we bring to the table. So let's see. Oh, there's Steve. Hey, Steve. Any other questions that came pouring in you'd like to share with the folks?
It's kind of been quiet. There's been some questions that I were pretty easy to answer. We are sharing the slides after the show.
Yep.
Just so we reiterate that.
Hey, some people ask what FME stands for. We never actually say that anymore. It stands for Feature Manipulation Engine. And yes, we were inspired by Spatial Database Engine from years and years ago. But it's a tool that really lets you fiddle with data very, very efficiently and quickly. So that's that one. Somebody asked if anybody
had one
by choice.
Yeah,
actually wouldn't mind.
Street View is another one. We're not working with Street View
is something that you got to be inside the Google stack to get at that, of course.
Can you share the link for the large KML data set? You're going to get access to that through a follow-up email.
Yep.
So no problem there. You know what? I'll chat that out as well.
And
another question.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Well, another question was related to rasters. We didn't show a lot of raster today, but we're quite capable of working with a lot of raster data as well.
Yes, certainly for the super overlay. We can also prep raster data to use inside of the Esri world if folks want to do it that way. That's certainly an option as well. I think actually with that, we'll bid everybody adieu. We'll hang around. As I mentioned, we have Johan from Esri that's available. If anybody wants to ask some questions there, we can get some answers fast that way. But otherwise, thanks, Steve, for manning the fort there. Thanks, everyone, for tuning into actually the largest webinar we've ever done, the most attended one here at SAFE. Apologies to those that had to watch this later on video because you didn't get in time. So I guess you're rewarded for coming early to webinars is one of the takeaways from today's event. Absolutely. So yeah, thanks so much from beautiful Surrey. This is me saying goodbye.
And see you later.
Say goodbye, Steve.
See you guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll hang around to answer questions. We'll probably turn off the cams, but if people want to ask us questions, we can.
We'll be here for some minutes.
For some minutes, if anything comes to mind. Oh, somebody's going to Austin. They said it's too congested there.
Okay.
Let's see, what else? Civil 3D to shape. Yes, FME can definitely do Civil 3D to shape and get out things like pipes and other stuff like that. That's a good thing to do. So somebody called us nice boys. That's always nice to be called that. OGC Sensor Observation Network.
Yeah, WaterML is a standard that actually Don, it's an XML thing, so Don's been working with WaterML. So get in touch with us if you want to look at working with that. That kind of stuff we love to engage with and work with people on. So.
Somebody asked about, I think, extended entity data going to shape files, and actually that was what I did in my example. If I go back wherever I was here, oh, I kind of killed it, but I can show this again. If we go and add a reader that is that DWG file, when I bring in the DWG file, I go into here and say Oops, I picked Civil 3D, which is not what I wanted. Somebody else was asking me about Civil 3D. Let's pick just flat old DWG. Then I get this option here called Attribute Schema. That will fish out the extended entity data if that's something that that people are interested in. Let's see, any other things?
Somebody asked, is FME free or pay-as-you-use service?
Okay, FME is a for-pay thing. It's a license thing that you, but you can use FME Cloud as pay-as-you-go.
Yeah, we have multiple options, pay-as-you-go.
Yes.
We have a server option as well as a desktop option. So you can pay the big chunk or pay, I think it's hourly.
Yes.
FME Cloud.
Yes, it is actually. Yeah. So it can be used pay by the hour for some of the server things.
And with FME Cloud, you do get a free $250 credit, which will get you at least a month worth of trying that out, combined with a free desktop trial. So we're very generous with trials in order to see if the solution will work for you.
Right. So somebody asked, can FME workflows be automated? And that is a really good question. The answer is yes.
Absolutely.
So they can either be run in batch scripts on the desktop, or better yet, using FME Server. I think you often say FME Server is automation.
It is automation. It absolutely is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can use FME to start up, for example, whenever a file arrives in a directory, it'll take action. You can do that, have a directory where the rasters get dropped, and then bang, they produce the
tiles, and then boom, they automatically go up to S3. Or the stream gauges, for example, that example where you're getting data in from gauges, and you can have a schedule that goes and updates that every day or every so often.
Yeah.
So any kind of period, if you want to do real time, we do WebSockets, and that's level of TCP/IP, fast stuff, all the way up to like, hey, just do it ad hocly when you drop something in a directory.
Yeah. So somebody asks if my father's name is Walter, and it is, but my mother is not Dorothy. So that means there's somebody else out there named Dale Lutz that has the same named father as me, but so there's my alter ego out there. I'll be on the watch for that guy. So somebody thinks that we should be on NPR. That's a compliment. I like that.
Well, I like NPR too, actually.
I would like to be part of Radiotopia, so I could be cool like Roman Mars.
You know what? You're too cutting edge. I don't know what that is.
Well, I wonder, people out there, if you don't know Roman Mars and 99% Invisible, actually there's people online today from Caltrans. I just listened to a podcast on the way in talking about a guy who thought that a sign in Los Angeles was missing a little piece.
Yeah.
And in 2001, he made his own I-5 icon, a shield icon, and 3 feet by 3 feet, and a north thing 5 feet wide, and at 7 in the morning on a Sunday went and put it up there on the Caltrans sign. And nobody noticed for many months, and then when they finally noticed, Caltrans said, you know what, this guy did a good job, it meets the specs, we're leaving it. And so that's what you learn if you listen to 99% Invisible.
You need to crowdsource your signage is what I'm hearing.
So let's see. FME Server, what's the difference between FME Server and ArcGIS Server? ArcGIS Server is definitely around maps and basically publishing data that's in an Esri universe.
Yeah.
And FME Server is really around moving data wherever it needs to be. So it really doesn't care where the data is to begin with, and it doesn't care too much where it's going to go. So you can either use FME Server to create a static output like a bunch of files in any format, or it can stream in things like GeoJSON and KML.
And it really comes down to the focus, I'd say.
Yes.
It's like you said, ArcGIS Server, cartographic maps, beautiful.
Yeah.
FME Server doesn't really do that, but the automation side is where FME Server is a lot of value.
And a lot of people do use FME Server in conjunction with ArcGIS Server to either feed data in or to take action or to consume things. So they are very complementary technologies as well.
And you saw that example with the ArcGIS Server online JavaScript map where it was loading data from FME Server.
Yes.
So you can imagine maybe that's coming from a Civil 3D into the ArcGIS environment.
Yeah. So actually, that other Dale Lutz, I think I know who that other Dale Lutz is actually, and he and I used to know each other here, and he ended up moving to Vancouver, and we ended up even getting each other's mail for a little while, which wasn't a good thing.
Well, it depends on what's in it.
So anyway, somebody's still asking about that.
So somebody asked an interesting question. Is FME similar to Yahoo Pipes? Do you remember Yahoo Pipes?
Yes. You know, in a lot of ways, a lot of things in common. I would say we offer a lot more power on the spatial side of things. Yeah. So that's a big thing about what FME brings. FME also being a thick client is more powerful in terms of being able to handle complicated transformations. Yahoo Pipes used to croak when you give it fairly complicated workflows. And also I think Yahoo Pipes worked at a little bit higher level of granularity. So FME is very much able on each piece of data going by able to do things. Yahoo Pipes was a little bit more on bulk, but it's a good combination.
I think Tim Berners-Lee, the big inventor of the web, I mean other than Al Gore, he talked about Yahoo Pipes as being part of this programmable web.
Yes.
And I also see Zapier as kind of filling somewhat of a role
if
there.
If this then that.
If
which
this
is
then that.
Branded, but
oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just if.
Well,
we got rid of this then that. It's just if.
Well, that might be good. And FME is really just a super powerful version of that, I'd say.
Yes. Yeah. So someone out there that says they were a Google Maps Engine FME user, they ask us how many people were using the GME connected with FME. It's sad for us because we build all these tools at SAFE, but we never really know what people do.
Yeah.
If we were Yahoo Pipes and we were an online service, we would be collecting your information like crazy.
Yeah.
But we're not. And so you can opt in and give us usage stats, and we do value that and thank you for that. But very many folks don't do that. So we don't really know. I know it was measured in dozens, if not hundreds.
Yeah.
Because we do have some idea of the different people that were doing stuff. We know how many people certainly evaluated it. There was kind of a special evaluation, and that was measured in hundreds. So, but how many of those actually were doing something serious, we just don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
Can FME models be used in Model Builder? Yes, because through both the data interop extension as well as the normal FME, we end up injecting ourselves into Model Builder as something that's called a spatial ETL tool. And that's a very good complementary way of using those technologies, and many folks have done this. So you end up with FME basically being a replacement for Python scripts, working at a very fine level of detail, dealing with different formats, and then orchestrated within a model. And so that's very nice. Can you go the other way? Can you call models from within FME? Not as nice as I would like, but the answer is yes.
Yeah.
People do it with the ArcPy Python.
They do it with Python. Yeah.
You've seen that done, I'm sure.
Yeah. It's possible.
And I know actually folks have used the same story I've just said they've done with the spatial modeler of Erdos, going both ways.
Right.
So So anyway, FME definitely fills a role. Really, I would say the biggest competition to FME is people writing in Python.
And so we give you that ability in FME as well. So,
but you can get a lot. You can work at a much higher level with an FME situation. So, someone asked the difference between FME desktop and server. So FME desktop is this thing that I was fiddling around with here, where we author and draw lines between different data types and create things. And then what we do is we push this up to an FME server, and we fill in some details, and off we go. Aaron, is there a nice FME server we could take a peek at that we didn't even think of looking at before?
Sure. Let's go to maybe BP-FME server 15.
Wow.
See what it looks like. See if we can get there.
It's searching Google for that, which is not what we wanted.
You got to do the HTTP.
There we go.
And there we go.
So this is FME server. Is there a secret password?
Admin, and you can guess the password is admin. It's behind our firewall, so we're not.
So all the safers are going to get it. I'm going to save the password.
It's up to you. Yeah.
So anyway, this is what FME server looks like, and
maybe hit that run workspace button.
Right.
And then
so this lets us run a one-off. What's a good one to show?
Into samples would be, if you go down, scroll down into samples, and then one I always like to use Austin download because it gives you a few options.
We love these Austin guys.
And data download would be good.
Right, and we basically fill in a few things. Are we doing airports? What are we doing?
You can do whatever you want there. Pick some roads. So this is
Railroads
basically a data download service. So
we pick a format.
Yeah.
You could pick KML. It's sort of on theme.
Yeah, and then pick. There's more options there, but
was there more?
Well, that's made for more programmatic use because these are really web services that you hook in.
Yes.
To.
So I'm going to run this. Is this going to bring her down?
Well, no, it should give us a zip file.
Right.
And,
so that's one use to kind of on-demand run things. And again, a REST API is available to do this programmatically.
Did we want to show an example of that, or you want to show
why don't we go back to home? Yeah, let's look at the scheduler because that's an interesting thing. So this would let us set up the time for things we want to do, and that's creating a schedule.
Again, you pick a workspace that's up there. That's categories and stuff. You'd pick that, but if you scroll down, there's a repository and workspace. You pick
so
samples
I'm going to pick
again
data
or
loading,
something.
and I pick, whatever this is.
Whatever that is.
And then I could say when to run it, and
there's parameters you may fill out.
Yeah.
And then you pick repeat intervals and things like that.
Yeah. And somewhere I should be able to see the existing schedules that there are.
Yeah, if you go
Manage,
click
maybe,
on schedules or manage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is what you guys have running right now.
That's what we have now. Yeah.
And then lastly, if I go here, there's this notifications business where I can basically say, hey, when something happens, then run something.
Exactly.
And that's
this is
what
the
this all.
if this then that
Right.
kind of zap here.
Like this one here, when this directory fires, then we're going to do some kind of work or another.
Exactly.
So that's oh, do you want to see actually from the server playground we can show how that
Yeah, let's go there and take a look at the data download example actually.
Okay, let's see. Looks like other people have searched this before. If I go here and what do I do? Get started?
Well, you can try that, or you hit the little menu thing over there.
Okay.
And then go down. Let's go down to code samples and data delivery there.
Okay.
And then pick any one of those.
We'll do ArcGIS Maps.
Okay.
So actually, were you showing this more or less, or not really?
More or less, but missing. If you scroll down, we're going to hide that code thing. But if you scroll down, here you would.
Okay, this is the actual thing.
Yeah, and you would draw the.
So I'm going to draw me a polygon. We're going to do it in Vancouver. Did I catch this draw call?
Yeah, it's ready. It's primed, ready to go.
Okay, I got it to go.
Step 2 here, you clip the data to the area, and if you scroll down within this window, you'll see the result.
Ah.
And so what it actually does is it goes out to a web service that's FME service, says, hey,
Yes.
I want this, and it returns a JSON object, which you can then provide as, there's a link to get the data and that sort of thing.
This thing here might do it?
Yeah, and there's the link right there, actually.
It's even better.
Yeah, we're going to make this a little bit better.
Okay, but nonetheless, and then there's a zip file, and if I open that up,
it would have
there's something.
whatever data we
right.
show.
Hey, I got SkyTrains and stuff.
Shapefile.
So anyway, that was kind of a detour
Yeah.
for anybody interested. And Wilson actually was asking us about that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, Google Earth Enterprise Client. Brad from Edmonton's asking about that. There's been no official word on that. So if you have Google Earth Enterprise, you have to talk to Google. There's no official word, but certainly Esri is saying that if you have that, you can use ArcGIS Pro instead.
Yeah.
And so we have heard from some customers that are intending to move away from Google Earth Enterprise, but again, no official word and have to check. But Google Earth Pro is free.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can start using that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that stuff was purchased to be on site, so I don't think it's going to go away. So in other words, even if Google would sort of, I don't know if they're going to, but if they drop support, it's not like it's going to just stop one morning.
It won't be updated.
Yeah.
If say came
out. So I wouldn't be so bold
updated.
to say it's going away, but we don't really know is the answer. Yeah. So let's see. Oh, somebody wants to know how to do an FME writer. If you want to do a plugin to FME, if we don't support your format, there are APIs in Python, Java, and C++. So
I'll interject and I'll say the number one best way to do this is to write to a format that can work. Is that fair to say? Rather than write your own?
Yeah, it's true. Unless you really have some kind of a need.
Yeah.
So students, yes, you can get FME licenses. Jesse's asking about if students get an FME license. If your university joins our grant program, I think you go safesoftware.com or safe.com/grant. I think that would get you there. And David is asking what to do with applications built on the apps engine. Well, there's not any problem there actually. Was the grant program there?
Yeah, it's /grant. Yeah.
Okay. Safe.com/grant. If you're an educational institution, there you go. With the apps engine, that isn't going anywhere, so there's no need to do anything there. If it was wired tightly into Google Maps engine, then you have some work to do, but you could use Google Cloud SQL, you could go to CartoDB, the APIs are quite similar, you could go to ArcGIS Online, so there's a bunch of options.
Yeah.
Let's see. Anybody else? Yeah, Google Apps Engine. So Google Apps Engine is no, as far as I know, there's no change to that thing.
Yeah,
that's unrelated to this initiative.
Yeah.
So let's see. Anybody else? Some good ones.
There's somebody. Brian has really insisted that you look like the Dale he knew. So
my alter ego's out there.
It might. He might look just like you actually.
Oh wow. This guy even dated my alter ego sister named Shelley. So Brian, we're finding out lots here. I'm gonna have to contact you afterwards and see who is this Dale Lutz you speak of.
Do you have a sister?
I have a sister named Joyce.
Maybe he's just maybe he's remembering part of it.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
somebody asks, can you get data out of Google Earth and into shapefiles? Certainly not the base maps of Google Earth. Like that is not able to be reused in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but it looks like he's probably saying vector.
Maybe if you drew KML, if you save KML with stuff you drew, FME can convert that. There's lots of other converters.
Yeah.
You can use Esri stuff as well. Would be able to read it. I don't know if Google Earth Pro might export to shapefile. I don't know that. I know there's some plugin to do with shapefile in Google Earth Pro, but don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody's asking what the rates for FME Cloud are. So if we go to, I think we go to fmecloud.com, it should have pricing somewhere there.
Should be right there in the
pricing.
Guide. Yeah.
Okay.
Front and center. Simple and transparent.
90 cents an hour. Boy, that's about what I get paid here at SAFE.
Well, CEOs, that's what they do, right?
That's right. So anyway, it looks like it's pretty cheap because you can turn it off and on for things.
Yeah, and you do get free credits. That really, it'll take you a whole month. At least to use those up.
Some folks commenting that we might have showed a bit too much stuff. It was a bit of a survey. So yeah, we did fly along at 50,000 feet. Yeah. So I know we do work at a fairly fast pace, but folks can look at the recording afterwards if they want to. So I don't know. Should we call this?
I think the questions have died down pretty much now. So
I think we'll call that good. So Stephanie, if you haven't fallen asleep wherever you are, why don't you shut us down? We'll say goodbye one last time. Goodbye one last time.
All right. It was a pleasure, Dale.
Okay, let's get our own NPR show. I think that'd be fun.